Okay. And kind of before we get into the next piece of the topic around time management and procrastination, one question for you is, how are you getting organized? What system have you put together to be organized in all of your classes? I know a distance education or a remote course like this one can be really tough. You have to be a lot more self-motivated. You definitely have to stay organized. How are you keeping track of what's due and not due? How are you keeping track of what's ahead in this course and your other courses? It is time, if you do not already have a system, or you have a system-ish that's not working, it's really time to refine that. We are midpoint in the semester, and there's still plenty of time to get caught up and to finish successfully if you're not doing as well as you'd like. Reach Academic Support Services not only has tutors and academic support, but they also have some academic coaches who are upper class students who can meet one-on-one with you and talk with you about what is a strategy, developing a strategy that's going to work for you, because what works for me is not necessarily what's going to work for everybody else. I definitely remember the feeling of like alarm as I pulled up my syllabi and thought, what in the world, how am I ever going to get all of this done, right? And then we start tackling things, and I certainly know the feeling of frittering away my time, and that looks different maybe for me than others. I'm really thankful that I did not have streaming video services when I was in college, because this photo of Dory would have been totally me. It is hard to pull ourselves away from any number of things that distract us. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How do we manage that? One of the things that maybe we don't always think about, and this was a really interesting revelation for me a while back, is the idea that procrastination can relate to anxiety, that sometimes anxiety manifests actually in procrastination, in overthinking and avoidance. I know for me, there are certain conversations that I might need to have with my family of origin, and I don't mean to forget to make that phone call or to follow up, but it often happens, and I'll wake up in the middle of the night worrying about something. So that constant worrying, stress and anxiety affect my migraines, and so I'll wind up with a headache. So when we have anxiety about stuff, and it doesn't have to be like big capital A anxiety, it can just be, I'm really nervous about this 10-page paper that is coming up in the next couple weeks, or I'm getting behind in XYZ or XYZ's classes, class or classes, and now I'm going to start to avoid it because it's starting to feel so big that I don't even want to go there, and I'm just going to focus on everything else, right? So anxiety can look like lots of different things, and interestingly, there is a connection between anxiety and procrastination behaviors. This is what we're going to talk about today. All right, so make sure that you've downloaded and pulled up and have ready the How to Avoid Procrastination worksheet. We are going to watch a short video. I'm going to pause here and there for you to be able to complete the questions as we go along, as we proceed through the video. So get that worksheet ready right now. If you need to, pause me. Okay, so before we get started, I want you to think about one chore, task, or project where you're currently procrastinating, or at least have a tendency to procrastinate. So be specific here. Write down at least one thing. You might have a couple. I can already think of 3 in my head that I would write down. So go ahead and let's get started before we start the video, and write down at least one chore, task, or project where you're currently procrastinating or have a tendency to procrastinate.
As a child, I was terrified of horror movies, as many children are. Whenever I watched one, I would bundle up in my blanket in fear, and then stay up all night, vigilantly keeping an eye out for any monsters hiding in the closet or lurking outside the window. But that all changed when I changed my approach to watching horror films. Instead of hiding from the screen, I started sitting forward. Instead of cowering, I would punch the air whenever I thought a monster was nearby. I would even yell out things like, "Come and get me," or "I could take you," at the screen when I felt particularly frightened. And when I started watching horror movies that way, I suddenly wasn't as scared anymore. I started sleeping through the night, and I even enjoyed them. While it might be a silly example, it did teach me that instead of being reactive to fear, I should start being active in fighting it. When I took a fight stance instead of a flight stance, I felt more confident and my fear melted away. So, what does this have to do with procrastination? Well, procrastination is often a product of fear. We certainly don't procrastinate because we enjoy adding stress to our lives. We actually often procrastinate out of a fear of failure. We fear not living up to our own hopes for ourselves. We feel stressed to perform well because we care so deeply about what we do that we create high expectations for ourselves, which end up causing anxiety because we're not sure we can meet those expectations. We fear the pain that will come with actually working on a project or task and then finding that we didn't do such a great job after all. In fact, we become so afraid of not succeeding that we put off the thing we really need to get done until the panic sets in. And ironically, we end up doing a rush job that we're not even proud of. Procrastination is our mind's way of trying to avoid these feelings of stress and anxiety. Instead of working on the thing causing our fear, like that homework assignment or that big project, we turn to distractions that provide short-term, instant gratification and grant us some stress relief.
Okay, so pausing here. Now that you've seen this part, what do you tend to use as your distractions? Write a list of those. Take a second to think about that. Write a list of those in number 2.
The part of our brain that wants us to procrastinate doesn't understand that we're setting ourselves up for more pain later. That part of us only lives in the present moment. And in the present moment, the quickest and easiest way to feel happy is to avoid the thing causing our stress and anxiety, aka the chore, task, or project we want to procrastinate. For example, you might find yourself scrolling on the internet or listening to music for hours without having accomplished anything you really needed to get done. You might even find yourself productively procrastinating. Productive procrastination occurs when we fear doing a particular task, but want to experience the enjoyable feeling of being productive. So we end up doing other, less important chores and to-dos that don't really help us move forward. For example, you might find yourself reorganizing your desk or rearranging some folders. But these things just make you feel productive, when in reality, you are just spinning your wheels to evade doing the thing you really should be doing.
What a great point this is. I love to be a productive procrastinator. So, what are the ways that you yourself are a productive procrastinator?
Of course, this all comes crashing down on us when our deadlines approach. The panic sets in, and sometimes we are able to pull through at the last minute and get our assignment done on time. But we don't always have deadlines to save us. Some things have no due date, like working out, changing careers, fixing a relationship, or putting more effort into a business. Procrastinating things like these can have terrible consequences because we don't ever live up to our full potential.
Okay, is there anything you would like to add to the list that you made in question number 1? Maybe some things that don't have a due date that you didn't think about before.
But how is one supposed to ever stop procrastinating if there are no deadlines, and therefore no panic to step in and save us? How do we avoid procrastination before it even begins? Step 1. Acknowledge your fear. The first step to avoiding procrastination is to acknowledge your fear. Determine the reason why you have a habit of procrastination so that you can start to think around your emotions. Ask yourself questions like, why is this particular assignment, project, or task stressing me out? Do I have high expectations for myself that I'm not sure I can meet? Do I feel like I need to live up to previous work I've done in the past? When you get honest with yourself, You end up facing your fear and realizing that it is both very real and currently holding you back.
So step one is about acknowledging your fear. Why is, pick one thing from your list, stressing you out? Is it that you have high expectations, or you're wanting to meet someone else's expectations and you're worried about that? What is it that is stressing you out? Is it that you might be fearful about?
Step 2. Establish your why. The second step to avoiding procrastination is to establish why you want to stop procrastinating. Is it because it's the only way to break through to the next level of success? Because you want to be the kind of person who keeps their word and gets their stuff done on time? Because you want to enjoy free time later? What will the consequences be if you keep procrastinating? When we ask ourselves these questions, we replace our anxiety of failure with new emotions. Excitement about the rewards we'll receive when we accomplish our goals on time, and even fear of what will happen if we continue procrastinating.
Number six is understanding why you want to stop procrastinating in the first place. It might be as simple as wanting a better grade, or wanting to just get moving forward, or wanting your free time later. What is it that you are wanting out of a changed behavior?
Step 3. Remove distractions. The next step to avoiding procrastination is to make sure your environment is conducive to productivity. Remove all distractions from your space. I'm a big fan of turning off my phone and putting it in my sock drawer, so I'm not tempted to scroll on social media or answer messages.
Go back up to the distractions and the list of productive procrastinations that you put together. What really needs to change in your environment in order for you to be successful? Make that list here.
Step 4. Take immediate action. Finally, the last and most important step is to take immediate action. As soon as you realize that you are procrastinating, or that you are even thinking about procrastinating, it's vital that you take immediate measures to start working on the project you need to work on, even if it's just a tiny amount. It is much easier to continue a task than start it from scratch. Once you get the hardest part done with your project, which is just starting in the first place, it's much more likely you will keep working. You can take immediate action by setting a timer to work on a small piece of your project for 5 minutes. Seriously, it only takes 5 minutes to get started. After the 5 minutes are up, take a 5-minute break. Over time, work yourself up to the full Pomodoro method, which breaks your workload down into 25-minute chunks, followed by 5-minute breaks. Just like how I overcame my fear of watching scary movies, when you find yourself procrastinating, take a moment to change from a reactive state to an active state. Let the project or assignment or chore you're supposed to work on know it can't scare you. When you acknowledge your anxiety's presence, you take the first step towards removing it. Then, attack your procrastination head on. Take immediate action to curb the slippery slope that is, I'll work on it later. Because the opposite of procrastination is not actually productivity, since productivity can be a form of procrastination, as we've discussed. The opposite of procrastination is actually courage. When you gather the courage and determination to really examine your procrastination habits, you'll find that you do have the motivation to overcome them, get to work, and relieve your stress in a healthy way.
All right, the last step is about taking immediate action. Step number 4. What is one strategy, one thing you're going to commit to trying out this week to reduce procrastination and improve your time management skills? Ultimately, time management is about how we manage, right? All of the things that are coming at us, and one of the best strategies for time management is understanding where we have a tendency to procrastinate. So I hope that this has been a helpful exercise for you to think about, what are your procrastination habits? How are those impacting you day to day? And how can you get motivated and practice moving forward in a more productive, healthier way? more courageous way, as the narrator might say, in order to achieve your goals.